Hello and welcome to a very uncomfortable but hopefully helpful episode of Big Lash Energy. I am your host, Jayna Marie. How are you doing? I don't think I ask this often enough. Before I get started, I want to thank you for pressing play today. If you're new here, welcome. Might I suggest starting with episode 1? The feedback we've received about this show is that it's best when you listen in chronicle order. But you know what? We're just happy to have you here, no matter how you listen.
Thanks so much.
This week's a spicy one. It's so spicy, in fact, that it might just leave you with a bad case of indigestion. It seems there's been a burning question that's been plaguing the minds of some of my Instagram followers. This last week, I did a call out asking what they wanted me to talk about, and there was one response in particular that just kept popping up. The question was, how can I tell if my man is cheating? Well, lucky for you, and unlucky for me, I'm pretty much an expert in the subject. I've had lots of experience with cheaters. I don't mean to brag, but not only have I been cheated on multiple times, but I've also been the other woman before without knowing it and had many committed or married men try to hit me up. My favorite is the guy who invited me out for drinks and then the very next day put a post on Instagram going on and on about how much he loved his wife.
Ugh.
So anyways, I'm more than happy to share with you what you need to be looking for when you're trying to sniff out a sneaky Steve. While researching for this episode, I interviewed women who've been cheated on to see what their stories had in common. I also talked with men who've cheated to find out what was going on inside their pea brains. I mixed all of that together with my own experience and compiled my very scientific findings into 7 warning signs that your man is a cheater. Make sure you stick around for number 1, because whoa, it's a good one. Today, I'm not spilling the tea, honey, I'm spilling the tequila. This shit is bold and it's gonna burn all the way down.
Welcome to Big Lash Energy, dedicated to helping you navigate life's hurdles with your head held high. We're celebrating wins, learning from our losses, and laughing at ourselves along the way. Now here's your favorite hype woman, Jayna Marie.
Men are not the only ones cheating.
There, I said it.
I'm a sucker for statistics, so here are some that might surprise you. When it comes to relationships in general, 57% of men admit to having cheated. Wait a second. I'm not done yet. For women, the number was 53%. Yeah, only a 4% difference. Isn't that wild? Now that's in relationships in general. But when it comes to marriage, on the other hand, that's where things get different. That's when men take the lead.
Yes, we're winning!
No, dummies, that's a bad thing. Oh, according to the research done by Professor Nicholas Wolfinger from the past 2 decades, that between 20 and 25% of married men cheat.
That's 1 in 4.
So just to put that into perspective, according to the statistics, if you and your 3 besties went out for martinis and sushi, chances are that one of your dudes is waiting at home with a dirty dick. Ew. With women, however, between 10 and 15% of married women cheat. So on a 10-player softball team, only one of those guys' wives might be humping the ump. That, my friend, is a very big difference. So to boil it all down, according to the stats, both men and women cheat about the same until it comes to marriage, in which married men tend to cheat more than married women. For some reason, whenever I think about cheating, a nightclub scene pops into my head.
Maybe it's the PTSD from my party boy ex-husband messing around with bar stars. Who knows?
But I was surprised to learn that nightclubs didn't even make it into the list of top 5 most likely places people commit adultery. Can you believe it? So actually, number 1 is at work. Number 2 is at the gym. Number 3, through social media. 4, in a social circle. 5, volunteering. And number 6, this one's my favorite, at church. Oh, isn't that sweet?
Jesus introduced us.
So while both men and women can find someone to cheat in the same places, there's one factor people often forget to take into consideration when it comes to men cheating. And this one is going to make you squirm.
You might want to sit down for this.
One main difference when it comes to men cheating is that they are willing to pay. In fact, studies have shown that 26.9% of men have paid for sex work. Again, that's slightly more than 1 in 4 men, and 12% of men admit to having paid for prostitutes. So while a woman might be having long drawn out romantic sexual texting histories, a shady dude could get away with popping into a massage parlor, getting a handy on his way home. Hell, for a few bucks, he could get a blowy without even having to leave his car. I don't mean to scare you, but I've worked with plenty of escorts doing hair and makeup, and they all told me that the majority of their clients are married. And the reason married men came to them is because they're willing to do the things that their wives wouldn't. I read an interview with an owner of a massage parlor that offers happy endings with either hand jobs or penetration, and she said 80% of her clients are married. There's a huge appeal to paying for massages with happy endings or girlfriend experience, etc. The main one being that there's absolutely zero trace of the indiscretion. A hired professional is literally paid to go away after. She's never going to call in the middle of the night or text sweet nothings, so it's a lot harder to get caught. This past week, I've had conversations with 2 women who found out after years of being married that their husbands were being serviced by professionals. When confronted, the first husband said, "All my work buddies do it. It's no big deal." And when the other husband was confronted, he said, "Well, I told you I was going to take care of myself." To which his wife replied,
Yeah, I thought that meant you were going to watch porn and jerk off in the shower, not pay someone to suck your dick.
Whether your man's frequenting massage parlors, boning a coworker, burning extra calories after the gym, or showing his O-face to the church choir director, these are the top 7 signs he might be a cheater.
Before I get into this, I need to read over the fine print. So let me put on my glasses. None of the things I'm about to list mean your man is cheating. Well, maybe except for number 1. They're only warning signs that something might be up. I'm not done yet. So this list is for entertainment purposes only. I do not assume responsibility for any breakups, divorces, or smashed windows.
Here are the 7 signs your man might be a cheater, and I've put them in the order of least to most concerning. So number 7, the least concerning of the warning signs, is he's not as concerned with what you're doing, or he's now suddenly happy to give you lots of freedom. This one's pretty self-explanatory. Did he used to check in all the time, wonder where you were, worry about you, but now he's suddenly distant, encouraging girls' trips and nights out? Or he's maybe a little too enthusiastic about you leaving the house? Maybe he seems distracted in general. It could be because someone else has caught his attention, or he wants you to do your own thing, so he has the space that he needs to do his. Now, I did put this at the very bottom of the list because there are so many other reasons why a man could suddenly be a little bit disconnected. Maybe he's busy at work, but maybe it's somebody else. Number 6, he's suddenly paying far more attention to his own physical appearance. Do you remember the movie American Beauty with Kevin Spacey? He fell for his daughter's best friend, and suddenly he was inspired to change his whole damn life. He turned his garage into a makeshift gym and spent nights working out and fantasizing about her. In the movie, he hadn't cheated yet, but he sure wanted to. I had a chat with one of the guys from My 5 Cents. I wanted male opinions as to why a man cheats, and one of them said,
Your partner knows you. They've grown and changed with you and are obligated to love you as you are, but sometimes a man needs to know he's still got it as he is today. He wants to know he could still snag someone new if he wanted to. So sometimes pulling a new partner gives a man a boost of confidence, or he simply wants to present himself better for her like he likely did when he first met you.
Did Buddy just go out and buy a bunch of new clothes? Is he tanning now? Going to the gym? Wearing way more cologne? One of the women I spoke to this week told me that her guy did all of those things, and she just thought it was nice he was finally putting more effort into his self-care. Aw.
She had no idea it was all for someone else.
Number 5, he travels a lot, or he's suddenly traveling a lot more. On my birthday trip to Tulum, I had a very interesting conversation with a German guy who was there with a group of his friends. We started talking, and he told me that he'd been single since he was 19. When I asked why, because he was very attractive, so he wouldn't have had a hard time getting women, he said it's because all of his friends in relationships are trying to find excuses to travel so that they can cheat on their girlfriends or wives, and he didn't want to have to do that. He said he'd rather have women he messes with once in a while without commitment so he doesn't have to lie to have fun. I cringed when I thought about all the wives and girlfriends of the men he was there with. And here's the best part. He told me that his friends don't only lie to their women back home, but also to the ones they meet on vacation. He said each day, each guy would make up an alias. He'd choose a different name and a different career so that whatever woman he met couldn't find him and rat him out to his wife.
Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
That's a genius idea, right? Oh my gosh, I'm definitely going to have to try that on my next trip. So if that doesn't have you wanting to burn your man's passport, here's a little story from one of my past brides. I asked her permission to tell this story because she listens to the show.
Hey, girl.
She said I could as long as I gave her a cool fake name. So I wasn't feeling that creative that day. I actually Googled cool women names, and the very first one that came up is Luna. So here's Luna's story. Luna and her man had been married for over 8 years. Everything seemed to be going great. They were planning a vow renewal, and they were even trying to get pregnant, so it wasn't like they weren't having sex. He was doing lots of business in another city, and she trusted that when he was gone, he was just on his grind. Then, one day, she happened to take a look at his Uber receipts and saw that there was a night he got a ride at 2 o'clock in the morning. She thought it seemed a little suspicious, so she went back into their text message history, and her gut feeling was right. That day, he texted her at 10 p.m. saying, "Oh, it's been a long day. I'm really tired. I'm going to bed early, babe." So that's the first time she knew something was up. Shortly after, she ended up getting a message from an escort's best friend saying that not only was he a regular client, he had fallen in love with her. When he was finally ready to admit his indiscretions, he said he started off by going to massage parlors, and then eventually he started hiring escorts, and there was one he was seeing regularly who he just happened to fall for. If it hadn't been for that Uber receipt, Luna would have probably been completely clueless because there weren't any other signs and their relationship seemed to be going great. The best part of this story is that this goofball had had a major glow up financially while he was with her. So once they were separated and he started dating again, he was meeting women but couldn't trust that they were with him for the right reasons. So now he was begging to get her back. I'd like to take a second to refer to one of my all-time favorite Cardi B lyrics. Karma for you is going to be who you end up with. He had a real one, not to mention Luna is such a babe with a gigantic heart and adventurous spirit. She's smart, she's successful.
What a dumbass.
Now, I need to preface this by saying that a man who travels has plenty of opportunity, but it doesn't necessarily mean he's going to take it. It's just a warning sign that he might be a cheater. I remember one destination wedding that I did. The bride and groom flew myself out as well as a photographer. The entire trip, this man went on and on about how much he loved his wife. He showed me pictures of her, talked about what an amazing, successful woman she was. And we had one night off together to explore the city. So we went around town. We'd smoked hookah together on the beach. We had a really great time. But again, I heard more stories about her. It was a completely innocent and professional time that we spent together. But then when we were done working, we each went our separate ways. And I sent him one DM on Instagram saying, "Thank you. It was nice working with you." And his wife happened to see it. Sure enough, she sent me a long message demanding that I tell her everything we did together. She said, "I know that you guys were up to something." And I said, "Yeah, we talked about you. I'd hate for this man to be sleeping in the doghouse for no reason. He's obsessed with you." So of course, not every man is a dirty dog. I'm just saying that if he wanted to be, he absolutely could be. Which leads me to number 4. He has no integrity outside of your relationship. The definition of integrity is what you do when no one is watching. The number one thing that will stop a man from cheating, whether he's on vacation, at work, or at church, is integrity. So for that reason, if there are examples that your person lacks integrity outside of your relationship, it's a testament to his character, and there's a very good chance he has no integrity inside your relationship either. For example, every single man I know who cheated on me was dishonest in his business dealings and friendships. Have you listened to my 50 Shades of Red trilogy? It's a 3-part series about a crazy situation I got into with someone who had me seriously duped. If you liked Dirty John or The Tinder Swindler, then I highly recommend you give those episodes a listen. Well, anyways, the star of that series, Dirty D himself, showed me he had no integrity outside of our relationship, but I never connected the dots that it was a warning sign that he might be a cheater. One time, he told me he had an injured hand, and as an American, he didn't have the medical to pay for the surgery he needed. So, while he was at work one day, he found a wet part of the floor that didn't have a sign, and he made sure that he slipped and fell on camera, landing on his already injured hand. Then, this guy successfully earned himself a payout and free surgery. Another one of my shady exes did something even worse. His best friend was facing life in prison for attempted murder. This guy testified on the stand that the other man pulled out a weapon first And he wasn't even at the scene of the crime. He was watching TV at home at the time. Sure, you could consider it a ride or die moment, something he did out of love to protect his best friend. But at the end of the day, he lied through his teeth under oath. Why in the world did I ever think he'd be honest with me when I'd asked a simple question like, why didn't you answer your phone all day? A man with integrity could travel anywhere in the world and stay loyal, where a man without it could cheat without even getting out of his car. So pay attention. I've been around men and heard them lie and cheat to their business partners, family members, and I tell myself, hey, at least he's honest with me. But later, I found out that wasn't the case at all. Even my grandpa was guilty. He cheated on my grandma and even ended up leaving her for her best friend. And even till the day he died, he was on trial, facing life in prison for white-collar crimes. He was up to some crazy Wolf of Wall Street shit and allegedly stole millions of dollars from people investing in fake stocks that he'd promoted. This guy didn't have integrity outside the bedroom, and he didn't have it inside either.
But I still loved you, Pops.
Number 3, he's suspicious of you. Does your partner constantly accuse you of cheating? Most accusations of cheating stem from insecurities or projection. He's transferring guilt onto you, and if he is able to convince himself that you're up to no good, then it makes him feel better about what he's doing too. I remember my cheating ex said to me one time,
I'm 100% sure that you're getting dick on the side.
that was when my spidey senses went off for the very first time. I had to ask myself, why would he stay loyal to me if he's absolutely certain that I'm messing around with other people?
It just wouldn't make sense.
What I love is that whenever the fingers get pointed back at a cheater, they'll say all sorts of things like, if that's what you really want to believe, or you really think I have time for that? Or, so you believe your friends and not me. But did you notice how none of those responses included a, I would never do that to you, or no, I didn't cheat?
Pay attention.
Number 2, suspicious phone behavior. Nothing, and I mean nothing, says true love to me quite like a couple with full access to each other's phones.
Did you know that's a thing?
Some people do this. Yeah, I've seen it in real life. Like, I was doing a bride's hair once and she asked her new husband to text the photographer. She handed him her phone. He put in her password and just started swiping all around that bitch.
A single tear fell from my eye.
So true love really does exist. Did you know that the phone is the number one way that cheaters get caught? I mean, it shouldn't be a surprise at all, especially when we use our phones for pretty much everything these days, specifically for the DMs. Now, when I talk about suspicious phone behavior, I'm asking, does he suddenly have a new lock screen that he didn't have before? Or has he recently downloaded Snapchat? I'm not going to sit here and tell you that every man who has Snapchat is a cheater, but I am saying every man who's wanted to cheat or do some scandalous hoe shit with me has asked if I had Snapchat. So
Do whatever you'd like with that information.
does he protect his phone? Because there's levels to this. So I would say level 1 is you have each other's passwords. There's nothing to hide.
Congratulations, you found your soulmate.
Level 2, he always has his screen turned away from you, or he always puts it face down. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean anything. It could be that he's avoiding an awkward conversation over something he didn't invite, but he is still protecting you from seeing something. Level 3, what I call the cheater case. Have you seen these phone cases before? It's one with a flap so that no one can even see the screen from the side.
For the record, D had one of those. Just saying.
Level 4, the zero access guy. This man will protect his phone under every circumstance. In fact, my ex-husband, who I later found out was cheating on me, used to sleep on top of his phone just so that I would not have access to it while he was in dreamy dreamland. Yeah. So pay attention to the way your man uses his phone because it says a lot about if he has something to hide or not. And now we finally got to number one. The number one sign that your man might be cheating is, are you ready for this? He's manscaping. This is an extension to our first warning sign, but with a twist. Here, we're paying extra close attention to a man's personal grooming, specifically what he's doing with his bush. Ultimately, this won't help if your guy's always keeping his right and tight, but with many dudes, that's not the case.
Now here's something I never thought I'd Google.
Hey, do it for the story. Apparently, 50% of men do some sort of grooming down there, either trimming or shaving. But some men start a relationship doing it, but then let their hair grow out. Have you been dealing with a dude's hairy bush for the past 4 years and now all of a sudden he comes out of the shower with balls as smooth as boiled eggs?
Honey, you better start packing his bags.
I've talked to multiple women whose husbands suddenly cared about their cleanliness down there and later found out their guys were either frequenting escorts, massage parlors, or dealing with side chicks. If the women who worked in these places knew better, they'd be telling their clients, leave your balls exactly as they are, because as soon as this information gets out, as soon as that boy reaches for a Bic razor, they're about to lose a customer. I spoke to a woman on my Instagram DMs who told me that she and her husband hadn't had sex for 6 months, but suddenly, Buddy had shaved balls. Ring the alarms! What chaps me about stories like this is knowing that dude was fine waving his hairy Neanderthal balls in your face for however many years. You've taken them for the team, lived for days with stubborn pubes in the back of your throat, pretending you're fine living with the shag carpet, gagging like a cat with a hairball anytime you gave a blowjob. But this new side chick gets shiny new hardwood floors?
That's hardly fair.
On top of all that, this is such a bold move. Like, do these guys really think we're not going to notice and wonder what's up? Like, come on, buddy. You haven't clipped your toenails for years. Your mom still cuts your hair, but you're suddenly this interested in personal grooming? It's obvious why I had to make this number 1 on the list, because no matter what else he might be doing that seems a little suspicious, this warning says someone's unzipping his fly. Let's put it this way. If he's suddenly mopping the floors and trimming the hedges, he's probably got company coming over. So while I was doing research for this show, of course, I had to ask Luna, when your guy was cheating, I know it seemed completely out of the blue, but did he ever do any of the things on this list? I sent her the list. She read it over and she said,
oh my gosh, you know what? There was one time he randomly shaved his balls. I never thought about it at the time, but oh my God, that's crazy.
So I think it's safe to say that we're all better off if men don't hear this episode. Am I right? Because if word gets out, they're all going to let their junk hair grow down to their knees and we're all going to lose our cheat code. So that is my list of the top 7 warning signs that your man might be cheating. While I was doing research for this episode, I stumbled across some very interesting facts and I wanted to share them with you so that you can be the most interesting person around the water cooler tomorrow. First of all, did you know that the country with the most loyal men is Germany? In second place was Japan, followed by Italy. Canada placed 6th. The United States, however, placed as the second most adulterous country in the world, right after Thailand.
Yikes.
Also, according to a survey done of 1,000 members of an extramarital affair dating site, yep,
There's such a thing.
the day cheating is most likely to occur is Friday, and specifically at 6:45. These stats don't lie. One of the women I mentioned who found out her dude was getting happy endings at a massage parlor had an 8 p.m. appointment every Friday night. He said he was going to the casino, but the only thing he was gambling with was his marriage. Are you into astrology? Well, apparently, the results of a study that I came across online found that the zodiac signs the most likely to cheat were Libras, Geminis, and Capricorns. I've actually been cheated on by both a Libra and a Capricorn, just for the record, while Scorpios have proven to be the most faithful. Here's my favorite nugget I found in all kinds of places online. Okay, so I'd like you to take a guess. At what age do you think that a man is most likely to cheat? Think about it for a second. I asked a few people, and the most popular answers were either in their early 20s or mid-30s. Are you ready for this? The age at which men are most likely to cheat is in their 70s. Yeah, in their 70s, for real. I'm not even joking. So check your grandpas, my friends. I mean, at 70 though, do we really call it cheating? Or do we call it more of like a Hail Mary? Because I swear these old guys are just living like YOLO bitches. I don't know how much more time I got left on this earth. I got to get some more notches in this belt. So if we bring all of this information together, the picture of a cheater is actually like a 73-year-old Libra living in Oklahoma? Damn. You learn something new every day. Even though I'm making jokes about infidelity, I realize it can be a very painful topic. I remember the pain that I went through when I found out it happened to me. There's nothing quite like betrayal by someone that you loved. It was a pain so intense, I could feel it physically. It felt like my heart really was broken. That's why next week we're going to be talking about how to trust again. We'll discuss if you should trust the cheater and take him back, and if not, how do you trust yourself to love again? The last statistic I'm going to leave you with is one that's got me shook. Did you know that husbands who cheat are more likely than cheating wives to remain married after their infidelity. So out of unfaithful husbands, 61% are still married, but only 34% of cheating wives are still together with their partners. We'll get more into that next week too, but for now, just know that cheating doesn't necessarily have to mean the end of a marriage, especially not if both people are willing to work on it. However, finding out what someone is doing behind your back can be a very eye-opening and enlightening experience. I know for me, each time it happened, it was actually exactly what I needed in order to finally make the move out of a relationship that had been seriously toxic and unhealthy. The information ended up being a blessing in the long run. Okay, well, now that I've got you side-eyeing your man, I'm sorry, I'm sure BLE listeners all around the world are man-hating right now. That wasn't the point of this episode because, like I said in the beginning, women cheat too. But guess what? It's my podcast, so I get to shit on the men.
Hey, that's not fair.
Sure it is. Feel free to start your own show and say whatever you want. Thank you for listening. I hope this episode was both entertaining and educational. Now, go check your man's balls and call me in the morning. If you enjoyed this episode and think you know someone else who needs this shot of tequila, then could you pretty please share this episode with them? I hear every time you do, a cheater nicks his balls while he's trying to shave. It's true. Thanks again for listening. Now, please, go be your most fabulous self and don't forget to spread that badass big lash energy everywhere you go.
Damn, Jayna, would you fit me in if you can? Damn, Jayna, I know you're the one with the plan. Damn, Jayna, there's no time to waste. Would you make me up? Could you make me up right now? Damn, Jayna.
Shut it. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. But she caught me on the counter. It wasn't me. Heard the screams getting louder. She stayed until it was over.
There's no time to waste. Would you make